Hey, good morning, everybody. It's FloppingGroper here. Thanks for joining me. Got about 30 people in here, but I know more are going to pop in. Bitcoin holding critical macro support, holding our December monthly anchor here. Getting that pump like up into that flattened 5-day simple. So we're going to go over some charts today. Are things looking like it can hold here, or are things going to get worse? We're going to take a look. Man, it's good to have you guys in. Rady, Jason, Simps, Jake the Snake, OG Blockchain. Good to have you guys in. We'll go over chart recommendations, but first I'm just going to go over the big four. Let me know the volume. Let me know if the volume is good. But, starting zoomed out, let's start with Bitcoin on the weekly. Still got this terrible sell signal here. It's just not looking good here on the weekly. That being said, we're still over that plus 60 threshold, so it is in runaway train mode. So we do have a very dastardly sell signal that typically implies multiple weeks of sideways or down. So that's what we're dealing with right now is sideways / down. So it's either a choppy, disgusting Saw movie of price action. I'm imagining Jigsaw on his tricycle just coming around a corner. Dude, would you like to play a game? That's what this red dot means here on cryptos. So it's tough times to trade. The trading has gotten way more difficult now than it was in the last couple of weeks. Going down here into these daily time frames, slowly meandering down to that 60 line as we go down. It just looks worse and worse, to the point where once you get to the daily, this is not good. You got red dot pinging off the 60 line as resistance. And so sure, an extra green dot could come out of nowhere, but we have to see that green dot before we start thinking it's there. But what I do like is that we have this ascending December anchor there. See that white line there? Kind of sloped up, which is why I believe Bitcoin has held this critical 100K level. Coming up, it bounces from that point and actually gets pretty much a 50% retracement from that dump candle there. But it's just tough because this 5-day simple is sloping down here. Or at least it's going to very soon. Bitcoin's having a hard time, like, just really... we wished it could, like, hard pump up and just reclaim a good posture above that 5-day simple and just turn it back into an upslope, like in that direction. That would be nice, but we're seeing kind of a short-term sell-off here. I'm leaning toward the December anchor, us losing that December anchor, not gonna lie. But shorting Bitcoin, it's not actionable for me until we actually lose that December anchor. Once we get a daily close like under that white line, then you can make that larger 9% call down to 90K. Right now, we're praying for a miracle, as Dragonhawk said in the chat, man. We're praying for a miracle that the December anchored VWAP holds, in which case another surge of alt season actually could be possible. Because everything relies on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin can hold critical support, if Bitcoin holds monthly expectations, well then shit. Look at some of this normie news here. I saw an article, Bitcoin traders see larger BTC price dip next month. So am I a normie for thinking Bitcoin could go to 90K? People are thinking bearish Fed news, the markets come down. But what we're actually seeing in terms of the price is Bitcoin holding its December anchored VWAP. And if we look at the stock market so far, although it did lose its let's see, I think it lost the December VWAP, so this is the December VWAP. You can see the stock market definitely didn't hold that. And it didn't hold the November VWAP either. But it is getting snagged on quarterly support. So right now, it is possible that the stock market holds this October 1st quarterly VWAP and continues up. I say that because the quarter 4 VWAP is strongly sloped up. Look at the slope of that blue quarterly support. So if things get worse, if we close a daily candle under this blue line, man, that's just not good. That is not good. That increases the likelihood of us coming down, getting this larger time frame test, perhaps of the year to date there. What about a quarter 3? Let's see where quarter 3 is at. That's the quarter 3 VWAP right there. So that would be the previous quarter. So that would be another very likely point of correction for the stock market. If we did lose this quarterly support, well, it makes sense that we would just fall down to the previous quarter support. So this down here at around 5,700 is another very important level for the stock market to hold. So right now, we're actually seeing some surprise strength. Bitcoin and stonks holding some key monthly expectations. But we're right on the line, guys. We're right on the line. It's like this is basically the bottom of... If things are bullish, this is the bottom, is what I'm saying. Because if we lose like 99.6 on Bitcoin, you're looking at that rotation to the downside. You're looking at that 90K or perhaps even a worse correction. If Bitcoin came down to its quarterly support, just testing the bullish idea that on October 1st, it's a new beginning for cryptos. If you're still thinking that, then you would buy Bitcoin at 80 if it came down to 81,000. But the time to short Bitcoin from a swing trading perspective, if you managed to get into some shit up here, that would have been sweet. But personally, I don't swing short in ascending monthly VWAPs like this, so just a lot of watching and waiting over here on my end, guys. Honestly, like when things line up, I'll tell you guys when there's a big opportunity. Right now, it just seems like the big opportunity would be to wait for a daily close, see if the December VWAP is lost, and then you short this down to the previous month there. But I don't have my confirmations yet, which is a relief for like crypto bulls. Like FG comes out all bearish and shit, but if we can hold some key monthly support, there's still hope here. So we're gonna go into some other cryptos, and it's hard to discern the future on a lot of this because it really all just depends on what Bitcoin's gonna do. But we look at Ethereum here, and the larger Ethereum picture, in my opinion, is screaming that we go a little bit lower. I mean, look at the bearish momentum here, still playing out. Momentum went higher, waves came down, and it's still just kind of free falling a little bit on that daily time frame. That's Ethereum on the daily there. And you look at ETH BTC, and gosh, ETH BTC is looking worse than yesterday. We're now getting even stronger daily candle confirmation under these very critical VWAPs here, the quarterly, the 2-month, and then the 1-month VWAPs here. You guys are seeing that it's becoming more and more a possibility that ETH BTC forms this right shoulder here. And that's your bullish scenario. If it can't form, if it fails to form that right shoulder, oh man, I'm personally gonna cry. So I really need ETH BTC to hold this right shoulder here. But that just kind of shows that ETH could probably come down in relation to Bitcoin just a little bit more. So it would be really nice if ETH gets a clean support tap of rising November VWAP support, and at around this time, as ETH settles at around 3,392-ish, around 3,400 territory, then that ETH BTC chart finds that right shoulder and we do work our way up. Wouldn't that be nice? So that's a potential turning point, a saving grace for Ethereum that I'm really crossing my fingers for. But for the time being, you're forced into a bearish scalping mode on Ethereum, because when you go into like these smaller time frames on ETH, what gauges the scalp time frame bias greatly is the slope of this 5-day trend, the 5-day simple moving average here. The fact that this is sloped down, you know, just you can kind of imagine the trajectory of this downtrend here. You know, it's a pretty sloped downtrend. So for the next couple days, Ethereum's going to have to fight its way out of this downtrend. And longing is just going to be very risky. I'm assuming that like by the time we work our way down here to this November VWAP, you know, this has pulled down. And it's likely that you find a little bit of a bottom. 5-day simple like kind of turns around like this. You know, you find some traction and you can work your way up from that November anchored VWAP there. And it's at around this point here when that 5-day simple, the black line, the 5-day trend, once that starts sloping up for us, then the longs, the shorter time frame, higher leverage, risky trading on the exchanges, you can go long again on ETH. But right now it's tough for me to do anything like high leverage on ETH right now. Hopefully you guys are putting up what I'm putting down here. Solana as well, in this like multi-day downtrend. See the slope of that black line there? So you could long on bull divs and shit, but really what you want to do is you want to short the red dots, such as on Sol. Look at this 1 hour red dot here. If you just entered on that, you're already in profit. So every single red dot in this downtrend is paying. And most of the green dots, it's only a matter of time before you're underwater. So trade with the grain. If you're in and out, short time frame, micro time frame trading, go with the flow. But just be mindful that when the price hits these major levels, like this quarterly support here on Solana, you might get a reaction there. From an investing standpoint, you know, buying on those scary wicks is can be attractive. But from a short time frame, like high leverage trading standpoint, you want to be going with the flow. You don't want to be knife catching like that. Solana on the weekly, dreadful, man. Dreadful, absolutely dreadful. Higher highs of price, lower highs of momentum. It's a trader Geo spike wave. I saw Geo in the chat. Merry Christmas, man. Geo said, all I want for Christmas is to liquidate Michael Saylor. You know, I kind of agree, man. He's kind of cheesing the system with his stock, bro. He's like, that whole shit's weird, bro. I hope Michael Saylor gets shit canned one day. It would be good for everyone involved. But let's look at XRP. XRP weekly signal still looking dastardly. XRP today could be a day of reckoning for XRP. We have to watch XRP around that critical $2.42 level, the December anchored VWAP. It really needs to get back up there. So when we zoom into the smaller time frames here, is there any sign of XRP coming back? I honestly would not bank on it quite yet. This 5-day trend is on its way down. We're getting a resistance confirmation of the December anchored VWAP here. This could be the start of something very dreadful for Ripple. I mean, this looks tame for now because there's a lot of like horizontal support and even rising support. You're thinking, oh, maybe it could hold on this trend line or something. But what anchored VWAPs tell us is that when you lose the current month's anchored VWAP, it does become more likely for the retest of the previous month's anchored VWAP. So a trend line I'm actually looking at on Ripple is this odd trend line from back here, those declining supports. You see these lows here that get lower. So sorry, not Ethereum, but Ripple, you've got this broadening downward macro megaphone pattern that I'm very worried about on Ripple. Got some folks in the chat wondering about the anchored VWAPs. Just a volume weighted average price that you anchor on a critical important candle. So the first of months are very important. But you could also put anchored VWAPs at the tops of markets, at the bottoms of markets. But the way I do my analysis is I like to analyze how we're doing for the month. For instance, Ripple here, having a pretty sideways month of December, right? We open down here, do have a little bit of run up, but after that, Ripple hasn't really gone anywhere. And so this is like our monthly open here on Ripple, like around this territory. I believe we're probably coming back down to that since we're closing daily candles now under the December anchored VWAP. Now, Ripple from a 2-month perspective, you'd have to go back to this teal line. This teal line represents a VWAP placed on November 1st. So this is like our 2-month trend. And it's still very, very sloped up. So even though the 1-month trend has been sideways on Ripple, the 2-month trend is very, very strong. So we could fall back to that and gain a lot of... We could gain a lot of strength at that level. If we were to pull back 30%, you'd find, I guarantee you'd find some strong buyers down there around this junction of the November VWAP and the October VWAP there. I got a question in the chat. Do you manually update the VWAPs every month? So the indicator is coded to just, you see here, it's our quarterly VWAPs. So whatever the quarterly VWAP is, it's going to place a VWAP on that line. So on January 1st, a new purple line will be formed. So right now, Ripple's year to date, like a VWAP placed on January 1st for Ripple, that's this purple line. Goes all the way back here. So that's your year-to-date support. That means that Ripple could come down all the way, like 60%, and you're still holding some good yearly volume-weighted support there. So this is why crashes happen in the crypto space. Is cryptos run up super hard, and they have a massive cushion. They have a long ways to come down while still looking like a good buying opportunity. So Ripple it could come down a long ways and we'd still want to get some of it. You got to think the opposite of like a retail trader. A retail trader sees Ripple up at $3 and they're buying a shit ton of it. Whereas, you know, I would rather buy Ripple at 94 cents or $1.50. That's just where I'm at with Ripple. So one coin that really kind of shocked the world was Fart Coin. This shit's hilarious, man. So I called like a dump on Fart Coin. But like look at this 31% dump on Fart Coin, but then it just rallied up again. Rallied up 70%. So Fart Coin, you know, benefiting off of this ascending 5-day trend for the time being. Eventually, it's probably going to giga crash, though. If you squeeze too hard, you'll shit yourself. So I'm hoping that anybody with Fartcoin, just keep an eye on your investment here, because it seems to be like blowing off. And as soon as like some weakness in the chart starts to appear here, like this 5-day simple flattens out like that, and gets to this kind of area where it's just flat, that's probably the end for this Fartcoin run. But for the time being, it's going insane, and it's got super high volatility. But I'm gonna open up the floor to some chart recommendations. Let me know what coins you guys want me to look over. And let's see if we can catch some good action. Look at Bitcoin here, struggling with that December anchored VWAP right now. This is a must-hold level for Bitcoin. Gotta hold these 99s, man, these critical 99s. Let's take a look at TON. Got a recommendation here. Taking a look at TON. TON is actually cheap now. So TON falling underneath the year-to-date anchor there. Let's go into the daily chart here. TON is, let's just say it's no longer overpriced. You're under the yearly volume weighted expectation here. So while it is cheap, while it is discounted, you still got a pretty gnarly declining 5-day trend. Look at that black line there. Super sloped down. So you're in knife catching mode. You're down here in the gulags, not knowing whether you've got support or not. We're just hoping buyers come out of the woodwork and save this thing. So it depends if you want to be an early, if you want to catch the knife for someone else. I personally don't. I would have to wait for a price to pull this 5-day simple into an upslope. Perhaps see some traction over one of these major anchors before I went into a mode where I would want to long TON. But from a value perspective, from a long-term investment perspective, it's actually not a bad time to scoop some up because it's under the year-to-date. So it just depends on what your philosophy is. You want to buy coins under the year-to-date for long-term, go for it, man. But if you're a short-term leverage trader, this is a shorter's market right now, at least until that 5-day trend recovers. Jake the Crypto Snake wants me to look at Ondo. Let's take a peek at Ondo for you. Good to have you guys in. If you like the stream, drop a like. Ondo is overperforming. I like that Ondo's holding on top of its December anchored VWAP here. A $1.73 is a must-hold level for Ondo because of some of the larger bearish signs that we're seeing in the crypto markets. Ondo is not immune to the daily bear div that all cryptos are experiencing right now. Very scary signal that a lot of us are hoping just blows through, but it could be really bad, or it could be a nothing burger. But you can't say Market Cipher didn't warn you if something larger comes about from this. But you just got to look at how price is responding to the indications. We are holding critical monthly VWAP support. So if Ondo can hold a $1.72, this wave reading will likely blow over. But if you lose that critical support, well, then you are potentially looking at that markdown down to like the November VWAP back down there at like a $1.27 or something like that. Now, from a value investor standpoint, we're very overpriced. Ondo is completely overran from its year-to-date VWAP. You're buying Ondo at a 100, almost a 200% markup from its yearly expectation. So this is an overpriced, expensive, tired-looking altcoin. That being said, it's overperforming, so you know, as long as it holds critical support, it could come back. But you see how the longer it trades in this window, the more that 5-day trend is going to get pulled into a downtrend. The more likely it becomes that this kind of tapers down and the price just kind of loses that December VWAP and you get that larger correction. So keep an eye on that $1.73 level, Maine. Clayt the Great says, what up, Maine? Good morning, Maine. Paper Beats Rock said, bought a little fart coin on a whim. The name itself is the winner. Yeah, man, there's it's a little joke never hurt anybody. As demoralizing as some of these shitcoin pumps can be, I still find it pretty funny. Like, obviously, achieving generational success is not a joke. But crypto, time and time again, shows us that destiny is often ironic and tragic and hilarious. So it's tragic that silly meme coins pump harder than our long-term conviction bags sometimes. But that's the name of the game, man. That we're just in this game. Vertical Ventures wants me to look at Caspa. We were looking at Caspa yesterday. Caspa, definitely on discount from a value perspective. You are below its year-to-date. But in terms of a short-term trading bias, you're in a strong downtrend there. Red dots on the scalp timeframes are supercharged, at least until this thing pulls that 5-day trend up into an uptrend again. Daily Caspa. Already come down a long, long ways, man, from that critical VWAP support up there. Like, I'd be surprised if it didn't pull back a little bit, but it would be a part of a larger move down. So there's probably going to be like a little retracement and then even more down. But yeah, Caspa's weekly signal. Caspa has a weekly chart that looks worse than most cryptos, because all year, you can see around the year to date, the price action's been pretty much sideways and choppy all year. And so losing the year to date is kind of a bad sign. Maybe this low gets taken and then it's able to pump from there. I'm looking at like this very important support right here. Maybe there's some manipulation down there around that level and then it's able to pump harder. But look at the weekly trigger wave here. That's a very bearish trigger wave with the money flow pouring out on Caspa. So you're under the year to date. It's like some good value for long-term investing on, from a yearly standpoint. But lifetime, Caspa's looking a little tired. Mr. Sam wants me to look at this hype coin. Don't know much about hype. Let's take a look at it. There's not much data on hype. You see that our lifetime data only goes back to December 4th, so this is a brand new coin. But once it gained traction on its lifetime anchored VWAP here, you can see what happens when that starts to happen is you get that follow through. Right now this looks very toppy though. I see like head and shoulders, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. That 5-day uptrend, which was strong and acting as support, starting to flatten over like this. You see that kind of like the black line kind of beginning to taper over. So I'm a little worried for hype here on this hourly chart. Not much data to go off of, man, but it's looking like it's getting tired, mainly because of getting that tap of the lifetime VWAP support there after being in the clouds for so long and flattening out that 5-day trend. Without that strong 5-day trend, a brand new baby coin like this doesn't have much to go off of, so it might have to come down substantially. Yeah, let me know in the chat if you agree on this head and shoulders, man. Cameron McDougal wants me to look at Jasmy. Jasmy was able to form a higher high recently from these June highs, it looks like. So this is a coin that people have been thinking is a pretty promising project here. You can see though, Jasmine getting that jump from the current month's VWAP down to the previous. Zooming into these smaller hourly time frames. You're seeing what happens when you fall into that declining 5-day simple. You start getting that extra follow through to the downside. Instead of like this green dot right here being a dip, right here, that's when you get those fake outs and it just keeps going down lower because now you're under that sideways / declining 5-day simple. That's why when you long, you want to make sure that that 5-day simple is in an uptrend, backing you up there. But right now, not much room left on the dumpage. You're kind of just waiting to see, can Jasmine come down, get an interaction off of this November, or perhaps the quarterly anchored VWAP, and we'd have to see what it does from there. Could probably get a nice long-term investment buy down here at one of these levels, perhaps. But in terms of trading it, you'd have to wait for this 5-day simple to scoop back up to go long on that again. "5'2" Geo. We got someone in the chat named 5'2" Geo says, "What's up, Nick?" Let's take a look at SWE. Man, here's what I don't like about SWE is one, let me tell you what I like about SWE is we're above the December anchored VWAP here. The VWAP is upsloped. That's looking nice. So if SWE can pull its 5-day simple into an uptrend, it's going to look real strong. It's going to be in a 5-day uptrend above its monthly anchor. That's a very strong position for an asset to be in. So if SWE can come back over like $4.58, start pulling this 5-day simple back up, it's going to look real good. But for the time being, we're seeing what happens when you pull yourself into a 5-day downtrend. Right now, all eyes are on that $4.13 level there. SWE needs to hold that. If it can't, it might get a kind of unprecedented pullback for SWE. Like SWE, it hasn't come down to this November anchored VWAP despite a couple attempts at doing so back here. Maybe this is the time that it does. I'm not sure. So just because it's overperforming around the December anchored VWAP doesn't mean it's out of the woods yet. Gotta see it reclaim that 5-day simple. Otherwise, it's on the chopping block, man. I don't like the downward curvature of that price action there. Look at the spiky downward parabolic action there. SWE on the daily doesn't really give us much hope for, like, you know, it's not a quality fresh long with a deep wave reading. You're up here in the clouds. Price went up higher. Waves have come down lower. Textbook bear div. So if price can't invalidate these signals by simply going higher and just holding higher levels and negating these signs, well, then the signs are going to follow through. Oh, we got to take a look at that deep coin, man. That was a coin that I put a couple good signals on a couple weeks ago, and then I stopped touching it. Deep's an interesting one because a lot of volatility is possible here. Like if Deep comes down to its quarterly VWAP, that's like a 45% dump. Even if it tests its monthly, that's like a 15% dump. So nice little volatile shitcoin here that you could potentially short if the 5-day trend backs you up. The daily's looking pretty overbought here. The weekly, it's such a young coin, you can't really like do weekly chart analysis on it. So we'll go into these smaller time frames. How are we looking around the 5-day simple? The 5-day simple kind of flattening out a bit. You see the slope of that 5-day simple going flat here, and that gives the other side a chance to take the reins. So if I was a betting man, I would say deep probably loses the 5-day simple, comes down and gets that test of the December monthly VWAP there, and we'll have to see what happens at that interaction. Looks like back here, Deep already got a leapfrog move where you dump from like the current month to the previous month. But maybe it could happen again if you lose this December VWAP at 8.6 cents. Then you could crash down an additional 20% down to that 60 or 6.9 cent area. But immediate time frame, SMA flattening out gives the bears another chance to take the reins. Not touching it for longs, man. Let's take a look at Gala. Gala still over its year to date, so strong 5-day downtrend here. Look at the slope of that 5-day simple. Absolute knife catch territory. Now you'd think that getting a tap of the previous month's anchored VWAP here could be a potential bounce point. Definitely is. So, and then also look how oversold these wave readings are on the 2-hour. So there could be a little bit of a bounce in a downtrend, like a counter trend retracement here off of this previous month's anchored VWAP here. It's a little early to tell. It's not really being cleanly respected like we like to see. You'd have to see like a close back up over this November anchored VWAP here before you had any conviction on a like a bounce kind of move. And then you'd have to probably take profits around that declining 5-day simple if you did try to knife catch there. For me personally though, I like when these moves come around, I like to kind of wait for this 5-day simple to scoop up. And you let other people do the dirty work here. You know, you catch this kind of move and you get in around like this point when the dirty work has been done. That's just my style. That's how I like to do things. You guys can do whatever you want. But Gala is hitting some strong bi-monthly support here. Could be a bottom, but I haven't seen the confirmation yet. Now, a couple of these meme coins had some pretty meaty pullbacks here. Looking at Bonk here, looking like it's working its way down to the year to date. When we zoom out on Bonk, you see that it's kind of just a drop in the bucket in the lifetime of swings with Bonk. Like we could come back down to this 2.6 cent level and it's holding a pretty good trajectory. That's why I like looking at the year-to-date VWAPs. So Bonk probably gonna go down there to 2.6 cents and likely get a strong bounce. So yeah, Bonk looks pretty shitty right now, but there's probably some good value approaching soon just because of how far down this thing already came. For instance, if you were to like hit this dip down here and then that pumps back up to just some resistance, it has like a bearish kind of suckers rally, you still get like a 30-40% move right there to the upside. So I'd say keep an eye on this 2.6 cent level on Bonk. Could be a lot of volatility around there. And this logic kind of bleeds into a lot of these meme coins. Look at Moodang here. Now overshooting underneath its lifetime anchored VWAP there. So once Moodang finds a bottom down here in these doldrums you're probably going to get a big swing to the upside, like a sucker's rally of like, man, I mean, it could go back up 50 to 100%. I mean, if it goes up to all-time highs again, it's like a giga pump. So don't fade these shit coins when they dump down to like insanely low marked down discount prices. Pepe getting a more modest pullback, just simply back down to the previous month's anchored VWAP. The thing about Pepe is, man, look at this bear div on the weekly. You got price coming up, and the waves kind of flatlined here. Doesn't bode well for the Pepe. I would think that you would one day soon be able to get Pepe down here at the year to date. So I'm not adding any more Pepe to my bags until we get like a substantial markdown. I'm not buying any overpriced Pepe. If we come back down to like 9.6, then sure, I'll consider adding some Pepe to my bags. But right now it's looking a little rickety. Zooming into Pepe, I'm just not touching it for long scalps right now because you're in that declining 5-day simple. Have no idea what this interaction around the previous month's VWAP is going to look like. So I'm just not touching it right now. Ape coin, this is another giga shit coin. Just got added to Bybit like a couple months ago or whatever. Ape coming down and testing that year-to-date VWAP there. So no longer overpriced. Ape is at fair value. You could maybe wait for this to overshoot that and get some discount Ape, but right now Ape is at fair value. Coming down testing 3 powerful anchored VWAPs at once. The previous month, the October 1st, and the year-to-date. So if we do see a little bit of a pump here, I wouldn't be surprised. The anchored VWAPs are very strong dynamic support. If you did get a bounce here, just back up to that December anchored VWAP, even if it rejected there, you're looking at like a 30% pump. Right now we're looking at Floki. Floki also came all the way down to its year-to-date. So now we're looking at pretty good value Floki. It's just not the best for high leverage long scalping because you're in a very strong knife catchy kind of 5-day downtrend. But see how Floki's responding around this year to date in the next day or two. Could be some good value there. With in that same class of shitcoins coming down to that year to date, so get some good value here. It's not overpriced anymore. It's priced at what it should be for the year based on that year to date anchored VWAP. Dogecoin, kind of in the same class as Pepe, as a meme shitcoin that just gets a modest pullback back to the previous month's anchored VWAP here. Gonna have to wait and see next day or two, like, can it hold on this previous month's anchored VWAP? Everything's just depending on what Bitcoin does. Is Bitcoin gonna hold its December VWAP, or is it gonna collapse? If Bitcoin collapse, I would say that we get further markdowns on all these coins. But if Bitcoin holds, then what you're looking at is what you're gonna get. Brett, kind of a middle ground for a shitcoin here. Not coming down to the year to date, not coming down to the previous month's VWAP, but instead finding some support here on the quarterly VWAP, October 1st anchored VWAP there. Holding for the moment. All these shitcoins are holding some sort of critical anchored VWAP for the moment. I think everything has kind of hit where it wants to hit, and everything is waiting to see if Bitcoin is going to bounce or reject off that 99K to 100K psychological level. But look at SHIB getting a pretty good value, seemingly like it's trying to get a bounce here off its year-to-date VWAP here. This is good value. Like, you're not getting overpriced SHIB anymore. So if you're looking to add shit coins to your portfolio, like, I would start with these coins that dump down to their year-to-dates and just start slow. As for Fartcoin, you look at Fartcoin up 40% just on my change percent here. This is like the last day or whatever, it's gone up 40%, but it actually had like a 70% pump. See that? A 70% pump. So I don't know what's going on with Fartcoin, but these anchored VWAPs are very sloped to the upside. That 5-day simple uptrend is very sloped up. Just be wary of just be wary. Do whatever you want with this coin. I don't own any of it. But I mean, zooming in on the hourly, look at the 5-day trend here. It's just like, it's not going down because this 5-day simple is so sloped up. Look at these amazing longs on this thing. As long as that 5-day simple is sloped up, that's giving a green light for these retards to come and pump this thing. But once this 5-day simple flattens out, it's GG. So in my opinion, you're probably too late. Probably late to the boat here, but props to anybody who's been slicing and dicing this thing. And that's about it for all the memes that I look at. Those are all the memes that I look at. But I know Crow is another popular one with people. So Crow could potentially be settling down at this junction here of the previous 2 months anchored VWAPs. The 5-day symbol is pretty flat here. See the flatness of that black line? So this is choppy. Crow's a little bit choppy right now. Could get pulled lower. Could get pulled down to that year-to-date again. You know, GOAT is another shitcoin that I own some of. I got absolutely wrecked on this GOAT coin. GOAT is like, it's really good long-term value right now. Like, GOAT has fallen so far behind. It's on super duper sale. Like, this thing is 35% discounted. GOAT 35% off for Christmas. Looks like absolute shit. So if you're like a long-term, just some money to throw into some shit, maybe it's a good time to get some GOAT. But as for trading it with the leverage, little risky. You get pulled into this 5-day trend. There's probably a better long somewhere over here, even if this is the bottom. And you pump up and you want to kind of like wait for something to build. It's like around this point here that you want to be taking risky trades long with leverage on this shit. The knife catching, just, it doesn't do me good most of the time, man. But you know, from a value perspective, long-term bag holding, good little sale there on GOAT. Giga dumping down to that year-to-date VWAP. Strong 5-day downtrend. Absolute knife catch territory here. Could get a strong bounce here off that year-to-date, though. Got to watch this in the next day. Very powerful levels. You always doubt these anchored VWAPs until hindsight. And then it's like, damn, how was I not buying this coin at its year-to-date VWAP? That was such a good level to buy. But right now, I gotta just watch this thing. I gotta wait a day or two. How are we gonna react around this year to date? If this falls to the other side of the year to date, we get an undulation to the downside. Down here, it's even better value Giga Chad. So I'm not adding any more Giga Chad to my little Phantom wallet. But at least it's not overpriced anymore. Giga Chad is pretty much valued at where it should be. Catching up with the chats. Mickey said, dude, we have problems in the bond market. It's selling off. Yeah, man, a lot of yield curves uninverting. A lot of bearish signs for sure. Macro. Scary signals. Big reason for the stonks to sell off too. But the thing is that the stock market here could hold its quarterly support. This is strong, rising, volume weighted quarterly support. And so yes, we did get a panic. We get the terrible bond news. We get the terrible news and you get the sell-off. But that could be it. And it could be a Fugazi, and then you go higher, and it's like another divergent bullshit pump. So we got to see, like, how does the stock market react to this critical quarterly support here? It is ascending, so it's hard to call gigantic dumps on the greater markets. But if you lose this quarterly support, yeah, you would come back down to the previous quarter's support down here. And if you can't hold that level, then shit, you test the year to date down here. And you get a dump akin to this shit right here. Or this, like, the S&P does dump down to its year to date. See, 1, 2, 3. You could get another big year to date dump there. Big time, man. Big time. My man Mickey in the chat. Shout out to Mickey. Yeah, man, I'm definitely leaning bearish, bro. Like, if I had to pick, if I had to lean one way or the other, I would say that, like, Bitcoin loses its December anchored VWAP here. And we do get that larger move down, but it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the price does. Price is king. Our oscillators give us clues, but ultimately we have to follow the price. If price can hold some high levels and it just holds it long enough to where we get another green dot, well then shit, I guess we're going higher. But I think losing this critical 99.6 level here for Bitcoin, that would be your catalyst for the larger move to the downside that you and I are hoping for, Mickey. I agree that yesterday very well could have been the nail in the coffin, but you just got to be careful. You can't make a big call like that if price is not responding to what that news is entailing. I actually need to get a daily close under the December anchored VWAP to actually think that on Bitcoin. But look what Market Cipher's saying. The Market Cipher's saying things are bearish. Bond market's fucked. Bearish FOMC meetings. Weekly sell signal. Everything is saying, yes, we should go down lower. But thankfully, like, I have levels that just help me to gauge when larger moves happen. Trading is all about if then, right? So I can happily say, like, if we start closing under that critical support, then I'll be looking for more follow through to the downside. I'm just a little cautious about falling for a trap here. Some sort of like a kind of like a bear trap where, yeah, all this terrible news comes out, but ultimately, like, Bitcoin holds its December VWAP and stonks hold the quarterly support. So I don't want that scenario to happen, and then I'm caught being a bear in another divergent upward move. So I'm cautious of that possibility. I'm just Going by what the charts are telling me. I've removed all emotion and personal opinion. Just trying to go off what the VWAPs are confirming. But yeah, that's about it for me today. So in closing, Market Cipher, the indicator I use in the stream, guys, is 60% off. Code HOHOHO. Got a crazy holiday special here on Market Cipher. Get all these oscillator packages. Best indicators in the game. Anyone in the chat will let you know. 60% off right now through New Year's. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at FloppingGroper. And I'm on Instagram as well at NickCipher here. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me, guys. Let's hope these levels hold for all the long-term investors. For their sake, we'll hope shit holds, but we're ready for anything. We're ready for the crackdown. Ready to start shorting too, man. These are exciting times. Stay safe. Close the year out good, and you guys have a good one.